So, yeah, the idea around the talk this morning is we've been chatting and putting together the Zoom meetings, and our Zoom meetings are just about a year old now, and they've evolved to 2 meetings a month. One, Ian Woodop is starting to host, being Matters of Moment, and one is a leadership session once a month that Daphna and I are going to start hosting and putting together. And the idea is to put leadership ideas to you guys so that we can work better and grow better businesses. So, yeah, this is the first of the new name called Leadership DJ, which hopefully will continue and just follow the leadership theme for the way forward. But, yeah, Dr. Melvyn Greenberg, otherwise known as Dr. Platzhund, agreed to do the talk this morning. What happened was I took my cat there to see him, and he put her on antidepressants. And he told me that my wife is a very bad leader, and he's got leadership lessons for her. So he was too scared to tell her directly. So I asked him if he'd tell all of us some leadership lessons that we can pass on to her, and that way I won't be the only one getting into trouble. So thank you so much for hosting and doing the talk this morning. Yeah, I'm just going to hand over the reins to you. Again, we'll have the talk. I'm going to mute everybody's microphones. If you do have questions, just raise your hands and I'll unmute you, or unmute yourselves and ask questions. I think keep it interactive, but it's just better if the microphones are off. That way you don't hear the background noises. And yeah, thanks, Melvyn, for doing what you're doing this morning, for chatting to us.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Jason. I just wanted to say that for everybody who's listening, that I do a lot of studying of wildlife behavior and even domestic behavior, which is my specialty in practice. So I'm the only vet in the country who does this. And it saddens me because nearly every single home needs a bit of leadership. Every single pet owner needs leadership, and it's seriously lacking because people think that affection is the answer for all these animals. But I found a lot of inspiration in the wolf pack system. I've actually observed wolves in Finland, and I've studied a lot of information with wolf pack, but there's a lot more literature written on the wolf pack. I read the life story of Sean Ellis, who lived with wolves for 2 years. It cost him his business and his marriage, but he lived with wolves in America and surprised even the Native American Indians with his attitude living with them. So it's quite something to behold, and it's a system which has been going for millions of years and something that requires a lot of respect. So I'll give a bit of a preamble to this and some philosophical ideas. The one thing that has always touched me is the fact that humans have killed over 2 million wolves, and there is not one proven incident anywhere on this planet of a wolf ever having killed a human. In fact, wolves try to avoid mankind as much as they possibly can. Maybe they know something about our character. And there is a very, very sweet philosophical poem that was written quite a few years ago by a chap called Gerald Halsman. It's called The Wolf in Us, where he says that the paw print of a 2-year-old Alaskan timber wolf is the same size as the face of a 3-month-old human child. We humans fear the beast within the wolf because we do not understand the beast within ourselves. And the wolf changes his hair, but not his nature. The one aspect about this is that there's a concept called anthropomorphism, where people attribute human mannerisms to the animals. They attribute human emotions to animals, which is rife throughout the world in the pet owners, the movie industry, particularly Hollywood, where people believe that animals know they've done wrong, animals are jealous, and they love each other, etc., etc. And in this discussion, this common ism will not be considered or mentioned, as it is completely frowned upon. especially if you're an animal scientist or a behaviorist and a veterinary ethologist. And a veterinary ethologist is a person who studies instinctive animal behavior. And leadership, I regard as maturity. And it's a seriously lacking characteristic in most of the youth of today. And I know that some people do develop leadership skills after military conscription, but that system is no longer in force. And there are many characteristics animals have applied in nature for millions of years. But when people do the same, mankind believes it is unique to their species. So in studying the wolf pack system and applying the ethological aspects of instinctive behavior, there are many important angles to be considered. So I'm going to deal with three things. I'm going to talk about how similar we are to wolves, how much better wolves are than we are, and what we can understand about their leadership qualities. Now, to understand how similar we are, we have to know that each wolf has got a unique appearance. There are no two wolves the same. Every wolf has a unique voice, like we do. They also advertise in the marketplace like we do. And over very long distances, they don't need social media. Their unmistakable howl is a brand which they use to celebrate the birth of pups, advertise the presence of the pack in that territory, or to call others to join them in case they want to get involved in a large venture, like pulling down a very large animal. Just like us, they are omnivorous. They are apex predators, so their only enemy is man. And their impulse to kill is not instinctive. They have to learn to kill. So they have to go through a certain amount of guidance for a certain period of their youth. Just like humans, they're opportunistic. And being a gregarious species, which is animals that live in groups, they are a very well-adjusted, family-oriented group, incredibly well-adjusted. So much so that they even care for the elderly, they care for the injured, and they care for the young. They are also gifted with expertise. They have the same element of greed that humans have. They cache food, so the pantry principle exists, where they store food and keep it aside for a rainy day. They also have highly developed brains. They learn very quickly, and they develop very, very strong associations with a very, very highly retentive memory. They also have favorites in their pack system, and their offspring are what we call altricial, same as us. Our young are born helpless. They're not like, for example, we have what we call scrub hares in the bush. These scrub hares, when they give birth to their kittens in their little homes they call forms, the young are born identical replicas of the adults. And the moment they're born, they're out eating grass and plants, although they suckle a bit, but they are capable from birth. And ours are, unfortunately, what we call altricial or helpless. The wolves also celebrate their young, which we do. And just like we have a protracted childhood, so do the wolf pups. They also reach sexual maturity before social maturity. They invest in the future, and their incentives are reward-based. They're monogamous. They engage in dedicated long-term relationships for stability. And they also, like us, go grey with age. So we have to say to ourselves, how much better are they than human beings with regards to survival in the leadership game? And we have to be envious of their system because it is so consistent. They have no ego and no personal agendas. And that is our biggest downfall as humans. They are excellent communicators, not only vocally, but with their body language. A wolf can convey an enormous number of messages by facial movements. It could be the dilation of the pupil, the twitch of the lips, the baring of the teeth, body posturing. They can do about 100 different little postures in a matter of seconds. So they are conveying a meaningful message to any member of that pack system. And it's well read, it's well understood. So they're very effective. They're very open and clear in their communication signals, which people are not. People don't often say what they want to say, and they talk around corners more than in most cases. The other thing about wolves is that they are constantly wary and in tune with whatever's going on in their environment. How many business people today are wary about everything that's going on in their own environment? The wolves have very good coping skills, particularly with change. They adapt very, very well to change. And we look at a lot of people in business who are neophobic. They do not want to change their systems. They do not want to keep up with the times. So the wolves are highly committed to their pack system, to their members, and they also know how to conserve energies for very important matters. And they spend their lifetime studying. They don't do what humans do. They study up to a certain stage and think they know it all. The wolves teach their pups from birth, even while they're still drinking from the bitch. They will learn how to survive, how to cope with everything in the environment. We teach our youngsters far too late. We should be teaching them leadership qualities right down from nursery school when they start becoming aware, and got to teach them this in a very positive way. And also, one may observe wolf pups in the supervision of the she-wolf spending their time playing. And that is where there's an anthropomorphism. People say, oh, look how cute those pups are. They are playing, they are playing. They're not actually playing. If you watch the behavior, even amongst lion cubs, that behavior is not playing. They are teaching each other survival skills. They are ambushing each other, pouncing on each other, biting the feet, pinning them down, showing who is in charge within the pup pack system, who is the more assertive one, who's got the leadership qualities. And they do that from the moment they emerge from the she-wolf and they start finding a teat to drink. That is when they start with their leadership attitudes. So it's built in right from the beginning. And everything that they do is meaningful. Everything that they do is so strong, and there's absolutely no weak links in their hierarchy. Whereas people in business will keep staff that are of no benefit whatsoever. So in the wolf pack system, you don't do that. You have to all contribute, and you all have your role to play. And that is why they concentrate all the time on maintaining good relationships internally. And every role player has the same focus and the same agenda. And their closely cooperative social unit is nothing more than trusted partners. And they do not have to be forced, coerced, begged, bribed to perform. They do it because they want to do it, and they have to do it to survive. And the interesting thing about the wolf pack system is they never change their CEO. It's far too risky. The leader has to rise up in the ranks, has to earn and deserve that position, and almost voted in and respected by the group members. So you can get another member of a wolf pack entering another wolf pack system, but they do not come in at the top. They might come in at the middle, in the lower rankings, but they will be fitted in according to the behavior and the attitudes and the genetics. But you can't come into a wolf pack system as a CEO. They don't know that system, no matter who they are. And what happens also if one individual in that pack system is lost, there's a very short-term disturbance, and they restructure their pack immediately and effectively because they have to survive. There's no such thing as having committee meetings and decisions and passing it past this one to the next one. It's absolutely done instinctively, rapidly, all for survival. Now, the leadership principles in the wolf pack has not changed in millions of years, and it's still so effective. What they teach you, if one observes these wolves, is that it is normal to have failure. A lot of the children today, and we have in our veterinary profession the highest suicide rate in the world of professionals, pre-graduate and postgraduate, because of peer pressure, because of parental pressure. Kids are under so much pressure today to achieve, but none of the parents turn around to them and say, look, if you get a decent balance in life, socials, sport, and academics, nobody's going to ask you when you qualify whether you got 51% or 91%. But these kids are pressurized today to achieve. And we see in our profession, because it is such a difficult profession, it's such an enormous pre-graduate curriculum where we've got to do every single animal species from fish to elephants. And we have to do every single aspect of that, whether it's anatomy, the nervous system, viruses, diseases, whatever the case may be. When they get to a certain stage in their learning and they can't cope, they commit suicide. And this is a very, very, it's actually, it's the parents and the peers to blame for it, but for the kids to grow up and say, okay, so I failed the exam, I'll carry on. And, you know, one can not only talk about the wolves. If you look at the behavior of the bushmen, when they go out and hunt and they shoot an arrow into a giraffe and it doesn't work, they don't get upset. They don't start accusing each other of being incompetent. They just sit down and they laugh. And all they do is they say, well, the giraffe has told us we're useless. Let's improve our game. And they learn how to do these things. So, you know, how do you raise a child expecting so much and expecting him to have any kind of quality in life if he's under that kind of pressure? The other important thing about the wolves in their leadership principles is that they lead by example. Everything that the he-wolf and the she-wolf does is an example to all the other members. And there's respect, and they watch each other 24/7. To give you an example, I mentioned earlier that this man, Sean Ellis, lived with wolves for 2 years in the United States. He was followed for the 2 years by one of the Native American Indian tribes there. I think it was the Choctaws or the Cherokees, I can't remember, but they've never seen this ever done in their lives before. And to give an example, he had to eat what they ate. He had to sleep where they slept. So he was eating raw meat off a carcass, but the one day he went down to the stream on all fours to drink water. And as he got there, 2 wolves came out the pack system and bit him in the neck and in his leg, and they dragged him back into the trees. He was in agony for days. But what he had done is he had disrespected the leadership. He never had permission to expose the pack. In fact, across the river was a bear, and he was exposing the pack to that bear. And he had to learn that there are very, very strict rules in this leadership, in this pack system. And that is something that I've always remembered. And also in this pack system, the leader makes decisions. Whether it's right or it's wrong, he makes the decisions, or she makes it, because the alpha male, the alpha female make these decisions. Nobody else makes decisions there. And the point is that when you make decisions, it doesn't matter if you're wrong, but make decisions. We spend too much time forming committees, trying to be politically correct, trying to be nice to everybody, and it wastes time. It really does. Rather do it, rather make a mistake and learn from it. But it's important that they've been doing it for millions of years and they've succeeded. The other thing about wolves, which is, I think, a concept that humans should learn, because I believe that maturity and responsibility is part of the leadership qualities. You know that the wolves will only breed if they know that there's food available and they've got a suitable environment to educate their young and set up accommodation. So there's no arrogance. There's no arrogance amongst these animals to say, I'm a male, I've got a female, and we must have children. They will only breed when there's food and a suitable environment available for them to set up a den, feed their young, and survive. Unfortunately, people don't learn that principle. There's many other creatures that do that, even the fish eagle, and there's lots of other animals that have got that instinct to do that for survival. And that's why so many people on this earth are unemployed and don't have food, and so it carries on. But that's another story that we can talk about. The other thing about wolves is they encourage their young for strength of character. They will allow their youngsters to express themselves in every way possible without interference. But they will not allow bullying, excessive aggression, or a lack of discipline. They cannot venture off too far without getting bitten or pinned down. And so those pups are born to achieve. They learn right from the beginning the limitations, their boundaries, and the rules of the pack system. The interesting thing about wolves is that the she-wolf selects the he-wolf. It's not according to looks or wealth, but it's the genetics for leadership and for his assertive qualities. Is he going to lead? Is he going to transfer a good character to the pups? So that's where it works. Because in the wolf pack system, there is no such thing as democracy. There is no such thing as democracy in nature, because it doesn't work. There is no such thing as each wolf is the same. Each wolf is equal. There is no such thing as two humans being equal, because you cannot compare a musician to a soccer player. We might have similar characteristics, but we are not equal. Everybody's got their own character, and everybody's got their own talent. So we have to respect those characteristics. But democracy as a principle is more a system for cloned animals, where every single animal is identically the same. And that is a scientific program on its own. So the female selects the male because she can see in his genetics, in his body language, that he's got assertive qualities. That is something that doesn't always work in humans, but certainly that is what they do in the wolf pack. And the important thing about this wolf pack is that every single member has a valuable role to play. They are fully employed, and their teamwork is to ensure survival. So everybody is respected. Everybody has a role to play. You might have one that might be a scout. There might be another one that just keeps the other males away from the pups, or keeps the other males away from the females. But whatever role they have to play, it is respected. And it works in this pure linear hierarchy. With that, the female, who is the actual pack leader, spends a fair amount of time diffusing aggression. Very often what she'll do is, if she gets into a period where she's having a season, she'll allow all the males to come around her, but she'll only stand when she's ready for the male of her choice. She'll also discipline the members in the pack system if they're getting out of hand. So the female pack leader plays a very important role with that. And where I can transfer this kind of concept, I strongly believe that females have an instinct that males don't have. And I've seen this in the business world, and I've done this for talks that I've given to the franchise of Spur and Panarottis. And I've said to all the directors, if you have a board of directors or you have trustees and you don't have a female on your board or as a trustee, there's an instinct that you are missing, because they can look at people, and pick up the fact that that person is untrustworthy, they don't like his body language, and they can warn you well in advance whether you're dealing with somebody who's honest or dishonest. So that's what happens in the wolf pack system. So now the leadership, yes?
I love what you're saying about females, thanks, especially that...
Well,
I appreciate
I hope I get credit for that. Thank you.
But I'm just wondering if we can pause there for a sec. And you've shared so many really interesting and amazing things, and that they really do. I love what you're saying about the wolves, and I certainly didn't know so much about them and the similarity to humans. And I'm wondering if there are any thoughts or questions that are coming up from our audience about that. Like, what are you kind of picking up from what Melvyn has been sharing so far, in terms of what insights are you having relating to your own businesses and leadership?
So one thing that I finding quite interesting is, I've just let a few people know, I'm reading Robin Sharma's new book, The 5 a.m. Club. And he speaks about the same things over and over again in all of his books. I wouldn't really 100% recommend getting it because, I mean, he's said it already. But he speaks about being pedantic around what you do. And you spoke about wolves saying that everything they do is meaningful and everything that they do has a specific purpose. I quite enjoyed that correlation in the fact that top leaders are pedantic around what they do. And you're saying that the wolves doing the same.
Yes, and they do it instinctively. We have to learn that. Some of us do have instincts for leadership. Some of us are born leaders. I do believe that, and I've seen it when I was in the army, and I've seen it at varsity. The point is that you can teach other people to be a leadership, not only in business, but within their own lives, making decisions. Because in the wolf pack, this leadership is measured by attitude and influence. So they don't become a leader by being aggressive. Their leadership is purely by being assertive and being respected. You'll never ever get, as a pet owner, if you've got yourself a working dog and you're aggressive and you're nasty, you'll get nothing out of that dog. But if the dog knows that you're calm, you're confident, you're aloof, it will learn to earn everything that you're doing. And that's how it works in the wolf pack system, is that they learn this more through passive behavior than aggressive behavior. And the thing is that the thing I like about the wolves is they teach the youngsters from birth. We tend to teach our youngsters too late to do certain things. And you can raise children giving them incentives. The other thing that...
Yeah?
The other,
sorry.
Am I muted? I'm muted.
No. You can talk.
Okay, thanks. Is there not a danger of a sort of reverse anthropomorphism here? I mean, I have written down all the aspects that you mentioned regarding leadership in wolf packs. And I can see the application of most of them to humans. The bit I drifted away a little when you started talking about she-wolves choosing the pack. I don't know enough about anthropology really to understand whether how long it takes to raise and rear an infant into a viable member of the community. but I know it takes a long time. And that role falls to the female of the species more than the male.
Correct.
I'm not disagreeing with any, but and the democracy bit as well, I wasn't sure about. What are your comments, Melvyn?
Well, first of all, you'll find that throughout the animal world, democracy doesn't work, because you cannot have animals being at the same level without having conflict. Because although the one might have a higher ranking than the other, it is respected. But the moment they are, even if you've got, say, 5 dogs at home and you treat them equally, they're going to fight, because they cannot be treated equally. You have to respect the alpha male and the alpha female, because that's in nature. It's the same correlation if you come into a house where you've got the lady who owns the house and you've got the husband there, and you walk in, you ignore them, and you go and talk to the staff. You're disrespecting the hierarchy.
Do a quick wipe on the back, please, also, okay? Do a quick wipe on the back. I want to drive you.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so that's one of the things. What you find today as well, in a lot of situations, I won't go into quite a lot of depth about this because it's a talk all of its own, when a lot of the women today do not have assertive qualities with their children. A lot of fathers today do not have assertive qualities. They allow their children to make decisions that are not their role. They, instead of teaching them to be assertive and teaching them to be how to behave and survive, they're teaching them to make decisions that are only belonging to adults, because they think this is a good communication between mother, father, and child. I want the child to be my friend. I want my child to love me. And all that they're doing is saying to the children that they're weak. Because I see this throughout my practice, is that the kids are coming in, making decisions on purchases, making decisions on selection of animals, and telling their mothers to keep quiet and telling their fathers to shut up, because they have been given too much of a feeling of importance when they don't have that role to play. And it is causing serious problems in human society today. And it's because the parents are lacking that leadership, that kids are turning to other things, which they shouldn't be doing, because other diversions show more assertiveness. So it's very important that we have parents today who are assertive with their kids. As in the wolf pack system, the assertiveness is being calm, confident, aloof, and turning to the children and say, you can't have that. It's not for you. And not only that, I don't have to give you a reason. I don't have to negotiate with you. And that is unfortunately the weakness that is being seen today in society. And if we would listen to what happens in the wolf pack system, you would have better parents, better children, and less problems than far less problems. In fact, we don't even need psychologists and psychiatrists if the principles are applied. And a lot of people don't like to hear that. A lot of people think that parenting today is being at the same level as the kids. It doesn't work like that in nature. It's unnatural for the parents to be submissive to their children. And this doesn't happen. Yeah.
Can I throw 2 questions?
Sure.
Jason, do you mind?
No.
Not at all.
The issue that you are referring to right now, I've entitled the loss of respect, the loss of tribal respect. And I believe that following exactly what you've said is that the children of today certainly have lost that nurturing system and no longer understand the respect that is due to an older person, particularly through the introduction of the computer and the gaming age. Having said that, I have a grandson who's a little difficult kid, And his involvement and time that he spends playing Fortnite and all these other games is unbelievable. He can spend 18 hours a day on the gaming system. And the part that concerns me as well in relation to that is obviously not the bumping and the bruising that your body should get when you're playing and jumping around, but the impact of the shooting, the killing, the violence, the images that one sees on the computer systems, and the learning of disrespect to your elders, to your people around you. Shoot them. That's it. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's quite a serious issue.
You know, what you're saying is something I've been preaching in practice for 15 years. I've been telling so many people what you've just said, because I see that today children have no idea, and they don't care about their grandparents. They don't care about their parents. They have no familial ties. They don't visit their grandparents in the old age home. And they're so busy with social media, showing people what a nice time they're having, that they've lost this whole concept of being part of a family. And it's a tragedy. It's also leads to the fact that they become desensitized to emotions. Yes. And what you're saying as well, if they're killing 40,000 people an hour on their computer, how can they have any feeling for anything? It's a tragedy of life, and that's why
it's an accepted issue to be aggressive.
Yes, and the thing is that this whole they're writing theses. The psychiatrists, psychologists, all writing theses on what's happening to our children of today as a result of this. And that is why I like to always go back to the nature of the beast and see, well, how do they deal with these things? And the real thing is that the parents have to make decisions and say, you're not getting a computer. You are not going to have this for more than an hour a day or an hour a week, and they have to police it properly. Unfortunately, when I hear and see what children say to their parents today, and the parents allow it, and I've heard a child swear at his mother so badly that in my day, you would have been in, I don't know where you would have been. My grandfather, my father would have done something, but the way they talk to their parents, it is a tragedy, and I don't know which way it's going to go, because it's, I think, human society.
The one other major point that I do see in that is that the disconnect between them creating solid foundation friendships. I go back to certain people in my friendship days that were solid and strong. These kids can never have it.
They don't, because...
And that will drive you through your life as well.
Yes.
Can I interrupt a little bit? Sorry, guys.
Sure.
We're off the topic.
Yeah, we're going a bit off the topic. I just want to bring it back to the leadership lessons that I believe we can take through to the business world.
Pretty much to leadership, Jason.
Okay.
I get that. So a question that's come up here is, how do you raise children then to be better leaders? So if we're going to have better leaders coming through into the business world and following like a wolf pack concept without being in a... Leadership is perceived to be aggressive in certain instances. Leadership is seen to be like completely hierarchical, where that's the CEO and we can't challenge that type of person, but it's not true. Leadership is you creating a team, and leadership, you creating people to better themselves together with you so that you all become stronger and you can all manage as a team and achieve. So in terms of that's what you said you're seeing through the wolf pack, is that there is respect shown through the pack, that there is a fine balance between assertiveness as well as force. How do you then take those kind of lessons and say, well, let's look at this pack, and what are we now going to implement either as a parenting skill into growing better leaders within our families and as well as pushing them out.
I appreciate that, Jason. Certainly, getting back onto the track with us is
thank you.
What we have to do. No, it's correct. What we've done, what we've got to do with children is they've got to learn to trust us. So we have to be consistent. We have to be consistent. We've got to be confident with them. We've got to be calm with them. And we've got to teach them things that are exciting about, what they say about a good leader. A leader is one that sees more than others see, sees further than others see, sees before others do, and instinctively knows how to respond. So you've got to expose the child to a whole variety of inevitabilities in life and show the child how to cope with it. I find that the parents who take their children out into the open, where they go horse riding, birding, hiking, and they get out and have contact with nature, which kids have lost completely, is to be able to show them, how do we climb this little mountain? How do you go climb down the mountain? Get onto a horse. Have that kind of control over a great beast. And then develop your coordination skills instead of sitting with a remote at a computer and that type of thing. So in nature, the wolves teach us that we've got to be back to nature, observe the kids, be vigilant with them, allow them to develop their character, don't suppress them. But when they are showing lack of discipline or bullying or inappropriate aggression, that's when you climb in and you discipline in a way that you are not going to cause any detrimental side effects. So your signals cannot be confusing. And you've got to be, and nothing must be taken for granted. They have to learn to earn. The children must learn that if I want something, I've got to prove to my parents that I've earned it, not having entitlement that they have today. Every child today believes that they're entitled to everything, and the only time that they care about their parents is when the parent passes away and they want to collect from their will. They do not care otherwise. And I have seen it across the board in my family, in other families. And if we go back to the pack system, we say, where did we go wrong? We were too kind to the children. We've given them too much. They've got to earn these things. And that is what the wolf pack system teaches us. If you want to be a leader, you've got to earn it. You've got to work for it. And you've got to understand the system. It's not just you. You've got to work as a team. And that's why kids that play sport and learn to be in a team. The only thing I must say is any kind of sport where there's teamwork is brilliant. The only thing that I don't like is the teamwork that you see today in doubles tennis players and cricket players, where every time they score something, they touch gloves or touch hands. That to me is weakness. You get on and you focus on the game, and after the game, you can give a good handshake. You don't have to kiss each other and hug each other. You just play the game and just be normally assertive in sport and take it seriously. And that is the way to do it.
Okay.
If I can jump in there for a minute, because I love what you're saying, and I think that often what I see in my work is that there are parallels between our parenting styles and our leadership approach or management styles in business. And what you're talking about is almost like, as parents, we tend to go to the kind of overly kind, wanting to be your friend, wanting to be loved, we'll give you anything you want because that's we just care about our kids so much and want to give them everything. On the business side, we sometimes see the other extreme playing out where, managers will tend to, force their or coerce the staff to do things the way they want to do it because they stress, need to achieve results. They want things done a certain way, and they tend to take the more aggressive approach or kind of push their power around by force rather than by influence and attitude. And what you talk about in terms of the wolf pack is that they seem to find that balance in the middle, which we want both for our parenting and our management. And I certainly know I was working with a CEO just last week where she said to me, this people thing is so hard. If only I could do my work and not have to worry about people. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we have, in all areas of our life, is how do we really adopt that balance in attitude so that we have influence, we bring people along, we have that balance of assertiveness, discipline, drive, and empathy, care, support. So that's a question I think that we face in business all the time.
Well, I'll tell you what's quite interesting, what you're saying there. It's very important, and this goes back into my whole summary here of the Wolf leadership. Besides it being a lifelong learning system, you've got to give back to the Wolf community, if you remember. Brilliant. So you've got to say to your kids, what are you doing for me? It's not a case what I'm doing for you. So I know as a kid, I used to work in my holidays to earn money. The kids today don't do that. They don't do that. There's a certain culture in South Africa at the moment where I can praise this group of people who've got kids that are still so respectful, because what they do is they don't get everything that they want. They love their grandparents. They'll do anything for their parents, because these kids learn early on that if they want money, they've got to work for it. They learn to have respect for values. And whatever they get, they must share. It's important for them to share their wealth. If you have a kid that goes out and works, he's got to come back, or she's got to come back and say, you've been good to me. Here's some of my income. Let's put it towards something in the home, or let's do something for the sister or the brother, and just prove that you've got those values. And unfortunately, look, in the wolf pack system, everybody gives back into the community, okay? Because work is their vocation. Their hunting, their feeding the family is everything that matters. And they also constantly applying their aptitudes for performance excellence. And we've got to get our kids to do that. We've got to tell them that if you want this, go and work for it. Go and earn it. Bring the money back. Whatever you earn 40 Rand, I'll give you 20 Rand for every 40 that you earn, but you've got to put something into the home to prove that you've done something, teach them those values. And it teaches them leadership, because the moment you've got maturity and responsibility, you can become a leader. And that's important.
Okay. Guys, we are approaching 8:30. So, if there's anything that I really thanks, Melvyn. There really has been a lot of interesting things that I'm certainly written down here, such as taking your ego and your personality. The wolves don't have their egos and personalities involved in running the business. Their ability and their agility and their readiness to change. Just there's a lot of leadership qualities that I'm certainly going to have a think about, raising leaders from birth and things like that, and possibly having a look at Sean Ellis's book. We are a bit pressed for time, so I just want to say thank you very much. And if there are any closing questions or things that we need to, or anybody's got to ask or just say before Melvyn, are you okay with that, Melvyn?
Yes, 100%. One last thing I'd like to say is
Johannesburg at all, or do you?
Pardon?
Do you hold lectures in Joburg? Or are you not in Joburg?
I used to. It's now, if people invite me. I recently did this talk and a few others on the Queen Mary ship, but I've done it with my profession as well. I have done some of these talks before. It's only if it's really people want me to do it.
Melvyn, it's Alex here. Sorry to interject at this last minute, but how apt is this? Because isn't there a difference between animals and humans? And one of the characteristics is the ability to make a moral decision. So understand certain of the points are valid and topical, but can you really compare oranges with oranges? Because the dynamics in an animal is completely different to a human.
Yes, the dynamics in many ways has got a difference because they are at a different level. But if you look at their success and you look at the quality of everything that they do, we have lost a lot of our natural instincts. If you have a look at the way people behave, and you can read up, if you do a lot of anthropology and go into what they've done with archaeology and everything like that, they go back to how humans behaved many years ago. People before biblical time were actually very skillful people, and they were very assertive. And today people aren't like that anymore. Those people were in tune with nature and they behaved differently. So the thing is this, that you can be moral and you can be everything like that, but at the end of the day, you can't show weakness, so to speak. If you are weak with your children, you're weak with your staff, the staff don't want you to be aggressive. They want you to communicate with them. You've got to listen to their issues. You've got to listen to it and try and work it out for the betterment of the business. But you can't be arrogant and say, I am not going to listen to you. You have to listen to it. The wolf pack listens. They listen to each other. But then the alpha male, alpha female make the decision in the interest of the pack system. But they do listen to each other. And I think that's where
you get almost the cult of the personality, which historically you have sort of the rise of dictators, and at an extreme you have like the rebirth, and isn't that promulgating sort of the kind of almost Hitler personality?
You know, all those dictators are, they're not leaders. They're not leaders. That is not what you call a leader, because nobody respects them. You've got to have a leader that's respected by your own people. That's a leader. Like Mahatma Gandhi was a leader. Churchill was a leader. Jan Smuts was a leader. Nelson Mandela was a leader. These are people that were respected. But you can't get
Melvyn. No. Sorry to interject, but Alex, I think, took it a little too far there, and bringing in dictatorial. But I feel that the new parenthood, of whom I know a lot all over the world right now, new parents,
yes,
are really torn as to their approach to their children in terms of leadership. And I was extraordinary. I was very assertive as a parent, and my child, who's now a parent, is seeking to do it in a different way.
Yes.
I think the model, the sort of wolf pack model that you're promulgating, was tried by us of my generation, which is mostly represented on the screen, and deemed to be largely a failure. I think I was overly directive, overly assertive, tried to do all the things, and I see lots of young parents now who are seeking to do it in a different way, with love, with allowances, and they get it wrong. I understand, completely understand. But I think we're in a multi-generational experiment here, and I'm not sure you'd find many takers in the new parent population right now who would want to install some of the points that you've raised this morning, which make which have an attractiveness. But they're trying something else right now, and I understand why, because we didn't do it quite. We stuffed it up.
No, I think we did very well. I can tell you now that if you look at the number of people that are psychologists and psychiatrists today and social workers, our children are in big trouble. One of the other big problems I see also that I've seen clients of mine going to, for example, Australia to visit their grandchildren. And the mother says, you're not allowed to touch them. Now, they get that from Dr. Google. Dr. Google gives them ideas about other people giving infections or whatever. How can you do that to your family? It's these youngsters today that are definitely on the wrong track. It's unnatural what they're doing, and it's becoming a major society issue.
Can I leave it there? And I'm happy to leave the debate open. I'm happy to leave the screen up and running and to leave the conversation going for a couple more minutes. But I have limited the talk to an hour. And I just want to say thank you very much. I mean, it has really raised a lot of questions, and that's always fun when a debate when a debate gets going. And it does certainly leave you thinking for the rest of the day and questioning. But I am happy to leave the screen going for anybody. I mean, if you guys want to carry on for a few more minutes, that's fine with me. I know that a couple of us do need to get back to the office and get back to work. But Melvyn, I just want to say thank you so much. You really have opened up a nice debate, and it really has been a lot of fun. Always a good way to start the day when you go off thinking about what's taken place. I said you start your day in a good way, and I think you really have assisted in that. And thank you so much for taking the time out. And to the other guys, and to you other guys, I just want to thank you so much for joining us. We are going to have more leadership discussions. Ian Woodop is hosting his talk, I think, on the 19th of June. We had it in the diaries for, hey? So his is going to be a continuation, I suppose, almost of what we're having a discussion around today. But thank you so much, and I will leave the screen open. And yeah.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm listening.
Thank you.
I've got two things to actually try and get across quickly. Having learned from my granddaughter, and we were talking about the earlier things, the first thing she would do to me is this. But I want to say to you this.
Okay. Well, if any of
it's still use of the hand, but I'm giving you a thumbs up, and my little one gives me this.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, this is, the thing is, for everybody's information, I happen to be an alpha male, and I find it very difficult to be otherwise.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you, Melvyn. Thank you very much. That was fantastic.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers, Anil.
Have a good day.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jason, thank you.
Cool.
Cheers, Jace. I'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers, Bye.
You're shutting off.
Yeah. Melvyn, there's a thing that says end meeting or thank you so much. It really, really was.
End meeting, where?
Yeah. It's okay. I did record it, so I'll send it. I'll send the link through to you. Are you gone? He's gone. Okay. Cool, man.
Cheers.
Have a lucky day.
Bye.